difficult day. Cheers, welcome. Week 3, caffeine with the team. Sorry I was absent last week. Shouldn't be out drinking too late, playing cards too late, because you oversleep and yeah. So let me get this shared out real quick, guys. Again, welcome to Caffeine with the Team. I try to do this every Sunday morning during the NFL season, give you kind of where I'm at, go through some of the game-by-games, what I'm on, where I'm playing. Smashy, what up, brother? Sorry I'm a little late. I was on a quick phone call, but Smash, I hope you're doing good. Smash comes in with the win. He is first. Appreciate you, man. Hope you're doing well. Jeremy D, what is up? What is up? What is up? Let me get this shared out real quick, and we will get into where I'm at and who I'm looking at here this week. I'm actually kind of excited, and I'll tell you why. So the guy on the thumbnail is a guy I've been on all week, like one of my guys that I really love. A lot of people are looking at Barkley. They think this is going to week. He's going to break out. I don't know. I'm uncertain. I mean, I think his price is right. We'll get into it more, but I really love what Daniel Jones has done through 2 weeks, and he's playing a very soft Atlanta defense. So we are live. All right, let me get this out. All right, Joe, what up, buddy? Paulo, what up, my man? Still got your cards, man. Whenever you want to come pick them up or swoop them up, let's get into it. So I'm just gonna go down game by game, kind of with how I see it on the list here. I'll kind of tell you who I like out of each game, you know, why I like them, where I think the games might go if we have the time. I'm usually on for about an hour or so. It usually takes about an hour to get through this, so I like to get off about an hour before lock so I can make some final adjustments. I am wearing the Seahawks hat. I know I am a Vikings fan. I think this is going to be a huge shootout, so we'll start with that. Even though it's the late game, it's probably going to be one of the games of the week. Obviously, the Bucks and the Rams would probably be the better of those two. But this originally was a 1-point spread or 1-point total. It was a 55, I think 55 or 55.5. It went down to 54.5. Seattle with 2-point now. That shift or that move points to them saying that Dalvin Cook's unlikely to play. Probably isn't going to be playing today. Enter a guy named Alexander Madison, who, if you guys have heard me talk about Madison this preseason, my speculations were, because we drafted another running back as well this last year in the late rounds, that everybody's kind of raving up as well, that I feel like Madison probably ends up in another team or gets traded at some point throughout the season and becomes probably that lead back. Maybe he could be a workhorse back for another team, but he's still with us and he's going to be playing this week. Again, I think when this kid gets any opportunity, that opportunity is handed over to him, he kind of gets to take the keys and gets to drive the Cadillac, if you will. I think he's going to be looking to take full advantage of it. And again, keep in mind, there's been talk around the league as well about the possibilities of them possibly trading him or eventually trading him. You got to remember, man, he wants to get paid, right? He wants to get as big of a check as he can. So this gives him that type of opportunity to really show what he can do and show off his skills. Now, again, a scratch Dalvin Cook is going to lead to a lot of people jumping and changing and going, oh, I'm gonna play him, right? He's 5,200 on FanDuel, which is very cheap. It's almost like a free play, right? Even if he comes chalk and he's kind of that free play chalk at 5,200 for a running back who should get the bulk of the downs, carries, etc., possibly some catches out of the backfield. It's just too cheap to not play. That's when we talk about chalk. That would be something that may be good chalk. And we got a lot of games. We got a lot of people to pick from. And there is a lot of cheaper running backs this week as well. A lot of people are hyping on Kansas City's Edwards-Helaire. But I think it's a Madison week. But, you know, I feel like Seattle probably does come out of this game. I mean, again, I'm a big Russ Wilson fan. I love their pass game. DK Metcalf, you know, Tyler Lockett. Again, with those two guys, you really got to flip a coin, right? Who's going to get it? Last week, everybody said because week 1, Tyler Lockett was the guy, that week 2 was going to be DK Metcalf's week. Well, it still ended up being Lockett's week. I mean, Metcalf got in the end zone, but Lockett was the better of the two. I personally am going to be playing a lot more Metcalf than I am Lockett, as far as run backs. I'll be playing a few lines with Russell Wilson at quarterback. So you'd be looking at something like Russell Wilson, either Metcalf or Lockett. You could even go again to Gerald Everett. I talked about him week 1. He was super cheap. He's still super cheap. He got in the end zone week 1. I think it was his only target, but he got in the end zone, which is what you're looking for in DFS, especially for a guy who's cheap. You could go to Everett as well, so you could stack those 3. You could run it back with either Madison or Thielen or Jefferson, or you could even run it back with 2 guys if you really want to. Typically, when I do a stack of a game, I'm typically going the quarterback, the receiver, maybe the tight end, and then I'm running it back with either running back or receiver or tight end, maybe if you're doing a flex, and you can run 2 if you're playing the tight end from the other team. Another thing we've talked about is you could also take a different approach, strategy-wise or tournament-wise, which could usually make you a little more unique, which would be something like if you did, let's say you wanted to play like Lockett and Everett, or Metcalf and Lockett, or Metcalf and Everett, and you actually didn't pair him with Russell Wilson. You paired him with Kirk Cousins, right? So you took the quarterback from the opposite team, because if those receivers are going to be projected the way you're looking at game script, game theory, you're thinking that it's going to be a shootout. For these guys to get a ton of points, they got to be in a shootout. They got to be in an air raid. Well, Kirk Cousins is probably going to have to be a big factor in that game as well then, right? To keep the game close, so that Russell Wilson has to keep airing it out, has to keep throwing the ball. Because if they get up by 2-3 touchdowns, they just start dumping it off, right? They're just going to dump it off. They're going to hand it to Chris Carson, who I also don't mind this week as well. That's another guy that's reasonably priced and in a great position. He's in a great position where he could knock in 2 touchdowns. I'm not saying he's going to break them and run 80-yard touchdowns. That's probably not a Chris Carson move. It can happen. It's probably not going to happen. But what could happen is deep throws to a Lockett, Metcalf, and then they get tackled at the 10 or the 5 or whatever, and they're in the positions where they're inside the red zone, they're at the goal line, right? They really like to hit them. And Russell Wilson also likes to take those rushing touchdowns as well. So that's why I'm big on Wilson. That's why I'm kind of on the Lockett Metcalf move. And I think Alexander Madison is just far too cheap this week. I don't care if he's going to be highly owned. That's a position that I don't really care. Again, guys, people who win like the Millie Maker contests and those big contests, football is different than like the game of baseball in DFS. You can have a semi-chalky lineup. You can have quite a few guys that are somewhat chalky, as long as you have a few spots or positions that are very, very low owned. When I won week, was it 13? Not last year, the year before, when I won like that 12,000 or whatever, and I got first. I was in the $5 single Roto Grinders contest with like just under 40,000 people. The way I took that down is I had, I think 6 or 7 of my guys were like 30% owned, almost like a chalk lineup. The difference factor was I had Sam Darnold at 4%, and he threw for like 300 yards and like 3 or 4 touchdowns. And then I had, I think it was Fournette or Henry, were like 5 or 6% owned. Everything else was chalk, but it was enough to take it down, especially in like a single entry, on a 150 multi lineup contest. You have to get a little more cute. You have to have a few more spots that are low and that go off. So next on my radar is going to be, I'm just going to go down the list from like the Score app and what they're showing as far as the games as we talk about them. We got the Ravens at the Detroit Lions. This is a spot where I think Lamar Jackson, and any week Lamar Jackson isn't like a crazy, that's some hidden play. I think personally, if I was to play Lamar Jackson this week, I'm not playing him at all, but if I were to play him this week, I would be playing him blind, meaning I wouldn't pair him with anybody. I would not have him paired up with any receiver. If you were going to, I would do Hollywood Brown. Some would say maybe Mark Andrews. I want to go elsewhere at tight end. So unless you're talking FanDuel and you got that flex spot, maybe you do the 2 tight end thing, but I still think there's better ways to build this week or build your lineup. So if I'm playing anything on there, it's going to be Lamar Jackson. Um, a cheap punt receiver play if you're looking for somebody. And I think this might be a pivot for me from Osborne. I still really like KJ Osborne. Going back to the Vikes-Seattle game real quick, I still really like KJ Osborne. He's, what, 3,500 on FanDuel or something like that. He's super cheap. He's been having a very good 2 weeks. Cousins is targeting him. He's getting shots. He's getting look. He's that receiver 3. But I like that Cephas or whatever his name is. The dude he's got in the end zone the last 2 weeks. He's a DK. I think he's 3,900, and I'm not sure what his price is on FanDuel off the top of my head. But I think that's a pivot for me going to like an Alexander, taking Alexander Madison now with Cook more than likely out. I really don't want Osborne and Madison. I guess you could do it if you're doing a stack with Seattle. I'm probably going to go Cephas instead of Osborne for that similar price change. And then Madison would be a running back in a lot of the builds. So that's kind of a look. The other guy you can look at is Hawkinson. Hawkinson is obviously a beast. He's their main go-to guy. He's their main targeted receiver there. So TJ Hawkinson for me is a very, very cashy tight end play. He's going to be owned, but he's going to be owned for good reason. So let me see. What up, Jay? Yeah, Cephas. Ravens got a bunch of defensive players out. Yeah, so again, you could go there looking at Cephas, looking at Hawkinson. KC running game is very, very weak, but Edwards-Helaire is just so cheap. He's almost like a buy-in. How about Peyton Barber against the Dolphins? Barber, yeah, I mean, I'll get to all these games here, my man. It's good to see you, dude. Fuck, man, I haven't seen you in a minute, Hard R Cards. I hope you're doing well, brother. I hope you've been good, man. Good to see you. I appreciate you popping in here today. 0-3, here we come. Now you're Kelson Hawk. All right, so let me just continue to go down game by game, and I'll kind of touch on them. Falcons, Giants. Falcons at New York. The Giants. Interesting game here. The thumbnail, Danny Dimes actually made the thumbnail. I think when I first started the stream, I said I was kind of excited about today because I created this thumbnail on Monday morning, and I a lot of times look at where I get my projections are from Run Pure Sports. They got some of the best players out there. I mean, they don't have Osimo. I know Osimo is a very, very good dude. He's one of the top players in the world. And again, a lot of times some of these players, I'm not taking away from their skill. They're very skilled. They're very good. A lot of times some of these players are ranked so high in the rankings because the more you play, you have to still build good lineups. But the more you play, like if you're a multi-entry player, you play 150 lineups a week or more or whatever in contests, your chances of having outcomes, if you know what you're doing, are that much greater, right? The more you play, the more you can win, the higher rank you can get. But we have some of the Run Pure Sports. We have some of the best tournament players. We have JSU, who's a tournament player who literally only plays 3 lineups a week. He gets into single entries, and he's taken down big contests over and over and over again. And I think that when you match it up, that's kind of how I play. I feel like the skill is that much more because a lot of these guys use optimizers, and I get it. They use analytics, they use numbers. It's a big numbers game. That's why people are successful at it that don't even follow sports or know sports if they know what they're doing with optimizers and numbers and looking at things. But single entry, 3 entry max, I think really shows how well hand building lineups, and that's what I've always done. I've always been a hand builder. I've always hand built my lineups. I don't let an optimizer. I'll run Fantasy Cruncher and I'll see what Fantasy Cruncher is optimizing versus what I'm on just to match it up. But I don't ever go off of what an optimizer spits out. I personally don't do it. I'm not a fan of it. But here's what I'm talking about. I kind of got on that swing because Danny Dimes is the thumbnail. Danny Dimes has looked absolutely amazing through 2 weeks. I know it's a small sample size. I get it. He showed some glimpse of greatness, though, even last year in some games. He's obviously getting a very, very soft Atlanta defense. This, I think, is a spot, and a lot of people are saying this is the week Barkley comes out. And it could possibly be. I mean, I can see him rushing for over 100 yards. I can see him getting the end zone maybe more than one time. But I think that Danny Dimes is going to continue to run the ball, get in those spots where he has to run the ball, which he's putting rush yards up, which is huge, especially if he gets in the end zone with those rushing TDs. Sterling Shepard has been an absolute beast for him. One of his favorite targets, obviously, through 2 weeks. I love pairing Dimes with Shepard. This is one game that I would correlate, possibly even because of price, a Danny Dimes with a Barkley and like a Shepard. You could also look at like Galladay too, right? I think Galladay is supposed to play this week. So there's the possibility of that. Evan Ingram, you can, and then obviously your run back on this can be either Kyle Pitts or it can be Calvin Ridley, right? I mean, those are some things to look at. But Danny Dimes, all right, here's my little thing I'm getting on. One of the best players I believe in the world, DFS, is Big T. He's on Run Pure Sports. Look him up, check him out. Dude takes down tournaments left and right all the time. Dude is a absolute beast. Dude has won the Millie before. Dude's just insane. He wins $100,000 all the time. Takes down first in big $100,000 tournaments. He rolled out his core. They always list their cores on Sunday morning. He lists his core. And guess who was in his core? Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. So it just made me feel that much better about the play and where I was at and who I was on. Like, just boom, let's go, baby. Like, we don't always see everything eye to eye, but there's a lot of times where when he rolls out what he has and I've already got my lines built, things match and things come together, and it just makes me feel better. So that's kind of where we're at there. Anyone else from Atlanta? What's up, John S? How you doing? Jay Harrison, what up, my guy? Good to see you, my guy. Fester's in the building. Sorry, guys. Dimes ran a lot. Yep, he did, and I think he's going to run a lot this week again, and I think there's a possibility that he gets another rushing touchdown. So he's looked great, and he's going up against a soft Atlanta defense. So Saints versus New England. Is Kamara going to come back this week? Is Kamara going to have a big week? Marquez Callaway has been an absolute disaster. He was that guy that everybody thought was going to be the receiver one in New Orleans. He has not shown up at all. I don't know where he's been or what he's doing, but he's not been there. I drafted Callaway in some leagues, late rounds. I played him week one. He disappointed. Even though I had Winston, which Winston had a great week one, he didn't show up. He was nowhere. New England Patriots, you got Harris at running back. Was all right. I don't really like it against the Saints defense, rushing defense. And then you also have Jacoby Myers, who has been stellar, has been okay. Again, I don't know that it's a place I want to go to. I don't know if it's a place I want to land. I think, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't think I have anybody in this game on either side. I don't think I have one player, not one player. 43.5 point total, 3-point favorite by the Patriots. No, thank you. We got a lot of 50-plus games this week. We want to target those. Not to say that Vegas is always right, but they're usually closer than they're not. So, all right, we got the Bengals at the Steelers. Mixon is going to continue to get the bulk of the touches, the bulk of the carries in the backfield. He's going to be seeing some receptions, some dump-offs from Joe Burrow. I am a fan of Joe Mixon. I'm actually a bigger fan of Joe Mixon this week than I would be of the other opposing running back, Najee Harris. Guys, like, wasn't Pittsburgh, like, and weren't people saying, like, Pittsburgh was going to have this awesome offensive line, this run blocking line, and Harris was just going to be this beast? Guys, if Harris wouldn't have scored and gotten the end zone last week, his numbers would look crap through 2 weeks. Like, just garbage. I don't know if you guys have watched or been able to watch any of the game from Pittsburgh the last 2 weeks, but it hasn't been good. Harris has not looked that great. I'm going to be honest with you guys. And if I'm tripping, tell me, but I'm taking Mixon on this side of the ball. If you want to, it's a 43-point total, 3-point spread. Again, I'm probably not going to Burrow. I'm not going to Roethlisberger. Jamar Chase, interesting. What did he get? 3 targets or 4 targets or 5 targets last week, and he only caught like 2 of them. kind of getting that glimpse of maybe he does have an issue catching the ball where he blew up week 1. Hard to say. So that's kind of where I'm at there. I mean, Harris would be like a cash type running back, cash type play. A lot of people are going to be playing him, but I don't want him in my big tournaments. I don't want to play him deep in tournaments. Colts and Tennessee Titans. So the Indianapolis Colts versus the Titans. I really like the Titans defense here. They're spending on FanDuel. I think they're 4,300 or 4,500 on FanDuel. They are only like 2,400 on DK. So on DK, they really make sense. They are cheap. So I like Tennessee's defense. Obviously, a lot of people are going to go back to Derrick Henry this week because he did what he should be doing, and he blew up and got in the end zone a bunch and ran over everybody. And he actually caught how many passes? Like 6 or some passes. I was listening to someone else earlier this week, and they said, that was kind of a fluke, and it could possibly be. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. But after 5-6 years, like, they're now just realizing, hey, why don't we take this dude that's 6'3" and 260 pounds that can run a 4.4 40, and why don't we just do some dump passes off to him? Why do we always pull him out on, like, pass plays? He made work with it. We'll see if they continue to do it. I don't know if they do, but I don't really like anybody on the pass side for the Colts. Nothing that sticks out. Again, Titans, it would just be Derrick Henry, but I'm really big on the defense. Again, if you want to run the defense with Derrick Henry, that's an option there. Washington at Buffalo. I like Buffalo defense as well here. Again, I think they're 4,100 on FanDuel. I'd have to pull up the thing to see what DK is, but some people are talking Antonio Gibson. We're still waiting for that breakout week game. I don't think this week's the week. I don't think it happens in Buffalo. Heineke, if you're on that train, possibly, but I do look to see Josh Allen. He's been all right, but I look to see the actual real Josh Allen probably come out this week. I really like Josh Allen. I don't even mind putting him in as cash. Obviously the rush touchdown, the rush upside. You can go there. You can pair him with Diggs. I actually don't mind Emmanuel Sanders as well. I think I have Sanders in my actual cash lineup just for the salary savings. He's 5,200 on FanDuel, I believe. So it's just too cheap. Too cheap. Chargers at Chiefs. Big shootout here. Guys, Patty Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce are all going to be right around 10% owned for the second week in a row. You're going to see this constantly throughout each week. And the reason being is because of their price, right? The price point is what kills it. People don't want to pay that price for him because Kelce is the highest tight end. Tyreek Hill is one of the highest, salaried receivers. Patty Mahomes is one of the highest quarterbacks salary-wise. People do not want to pay it, right? But they're getting, again, last week, the guys who were on that train, the guys who played that, a lot of lineups that were at the top or won a lot of money had Mahomes, Kelce, and Tyreek Hill in their lineup. And they're going at right around that 10% owned on each one of them. So it's a place where I think you got to look. Now, on the other side of that, you could look at Justin Herbert. Saints will win today, no doubt. Yeah. What's up, Rips? On the other side of that, the Chargers, Justin Herbert is a very interesting tournament play, right? High scoring shootout, and most people will look at to somebody like a Keenan Allen, which makes sense, right? He gets 14 targets a week. Why wouldn't you? So let me explain something right there. 14 targets on average a week, or 13 targets, whatever. That right there with a good quarterback, that's a receiver that is a good cash receiver. That is a guy that's consistent. His floor is high, meaning even if he doesn't have a great week, he's probably still going to have 8 receptions, right? In a bad week. On a good week or an average week, he's probably going to have 10 to 12 receptions. That's huge. So that's right there on a Keenan Allen. That's somewhere where you can look and you can actually look to play cash. Now, the other sides of this is a Jared Cook and also Mike Williams. Mike Williams is going to go under 10% owned again this week. This guy has been a beast. He's found the end zone the last 2 weeks. I think he's had 8 receptions. I think he's caught 8 balls both week 1 and 2 and gotten in the end zone. And that's what you're looking for. And he's cheap. Jared Cook is, I want to say on DK, Jared Cook's like $3,900 or something like that. super cheap. So again, this is a very good game stack game. And again, even if you're stacking it and you stack heavy on the Chiefs side, you're coming in under 10% owned. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. So great game to look at. Another one is the Jaguars, which, you know, we would hope that this could be a shootout so that Murray could really go off. And I think he still goes off, obviously. I think, you know, they're up by 3 touchdowns before they try to just ground the game and just keep it a ground game. My boy Rondell Moore had a coming out party last week, guys. I talked about him during fantasy drafts when we did the drafts live. I said that was my guy, one of my sleepers this year. The guy broke out. He's a speedster, man. Caught a deep ball, got a touchdown, got in the end zone. I don't mind going back to him in tournaments this week. I love going back to him, especially if you pair him up with like a Murray. You know, anyone that's going to stack a Murray is going to stack Murray with DeAndre Hopkins. I get it, but he's so expensive. And you're looking in tournaments, you're looking for that bust out guy, that guy that's going to get that 80-yard touchdown, you know, have 3 receptions for 160 yards and a touchdown. That's cheap. That's what you're looking for in tournaments. That's going to be low owned. So look at something like that. On the other side of this ball, another guy that I really like, and I really even love him in cash, is Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones is obviously Trevor Lawrence's favorite go-to receiver on this team. He's like 6,300 on FanDuel. I think he's like 4,900 on DK, if I'm remembering salaries correctly. Marvin Jones, I think, he's in like 80% of my lineups this week. So love going to some Marvin Jones. I don't know what's up with James Robinson. We got the Bears and the Browns. This is a good one. We got Justin Fields making his NFL debut. I know Balls is going crazy right now. I know Balls is pacing back and forth at his house going, I can't wait to see Justin get his NFL debut start. I'm excited too, man. I'm a fan of the kid. I really am. I'm a Vikings fan. I'm wearing a Seahawks hat today. But the Bears, man, Justin Fields. I hope he does big things for you guys. I hope he's something special. I hope he helps me and helps you guys win a lot of money throughout the years in DFS. This is interesting. Now, the only takeaways I have is, you know, it is his NFL debut. He is playing in Cleveland. It is not a home game. You know, are the Browns going to shut him down? They're favored by 7.5 with Fields making his NFL debut, a 44.5 point total. His rushing upside is just what's so dangerous, and he can throw the rock. He can throw the ball. So I'm interesting to see what I love Daniel Mooney today against Bears. Yeah, and, you know, if you did something like that, I would personally probably be looking at running it back with like a Nick Chubb, right? Because even if the game does stay close, he's going to be so heavily involved, right? They pound the rock to him whether they're up or down. It doesn't matter. He's still going to get his touches. He's still going to get his carries. So I would look to someone like that. Allen Robinson as well, which, even though he's a huge name, I think he's going to go a little under the radar. I think people are either going to play Justin Fields naked. I think more people play Justin Fields naked in tournaments than pairing him with Allen Robinson due to price. And I think that's a mistake. I think if you play him, and, you know, Balls mentioned Mooney as well, that's another guy. That's another guy like a Rondell Moore that, you know, you're hoping is going to get a big breakout TD or something and just going to be under the radar. Nobody's talking about him. Nobody's on him. So we can go there. All right, Jets and Broncos. I'm usually not a guy that pays up for defense, so I'm on DraftKings. I'll tell you, I'm pretty much playing the Titans defense. They're $2,400. They're just too cheap. I don't see any way the Colts win that game. Sorry, Colts fans. Nothing against you guys, but I don't see them. I don't see any way that they win that game. Broncos defense is $5K on FanDuel. It's the highest, most expensive. We saw Zach Wilson, throw 4 interceptions last week. They're in Denver, right? It's a home game for Denver. I just think right there, I don't think there's, you know, Javonte Williams is another one that we need to talk about. He has not looked that great as of yet, but his time is coming. He's splitting the carries. Him and Melvin Gordon are pretty much right down the middle splitting the carries. he's gonna have his time. He's gonna have his coming out party. And when he does, I think he's gonna have a big game. Will it be this week against the Jets? Probably not, right? I talked about that week 1. The Panthers against the Jets. CMC, I wasn't on him at all. No, the Jets, the best part of the Jets defense is their run defense. It's too good. It's favored by 10. That's a big number. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, they should be, right? So, yeah, again, you're really paying for it, but I don't see an upset here. I don't see the Jets doing much of anything. It's a 41.5 point total. I think that's weighted way heavy on the Denver side. So Noah Fant would be a guy you could look at. Teddy Bridgewater, I don't think this is the week to play Teddy Bridgewater in DFS because I don't think that he needs to pass or do a lot, once this game gets out of hand. And I think it gets out of hand quite early, to be honest with you, if I'm trying to visualize in game script how this game is going to turn out. Dolphins and Raiders. Interesting. I know Hard R Dan brought up Peyton Barber against Miami. That is an interesting look. That is an interesting play. Very cheap. I don't know, man. I think the guy, and I don't think he's going to be as popular or as highly played as we think he will, just because of the options and the choices at tight end this week. This is where I might even build some lineups with a dual tight end and FanDuel. But Darren Waller, I think people are going to, he had that huge 19 targets. He had 19 targets week 1. And then what did he have? He had like 6 or 7 last week. Kind of a disappointing week. I think you're going to see Waller get a lot again. And this brings up another point. I do have a couple tournament lineups with Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is another interesting play this week. And again, going back to Waller, you could pair him with like a Waller. I even like Renfro, Hunter Renfro, paired up. Maybe have Carr, Renfro, and Waller, right? And then I probably wouldn't even run anything back on that one. Sometimes you got to build stacks that way where you don't correlate or you don't run anything back. And that's where I stand. Peyton Barber, I mean, he's cheap, right? So take a shot. Hope he can get you 80 yards or 100 yards and hopefully touch the end zone. I guess that's the big thing. Cheers, guys. Tampa at the Rams. So whoever's left in here, I know I've scared a lot of people off, but whoever's left in here, who do you guys got? You guys got the Bucs or the Rams? I love this game. This game has like NFC Championship game written all over it. I absolutely love this game, as a lot of people should. 1 point spread. They're taking the Bucs, the Brady goat, over the Rams. Vegas is. Where are we at, guys? Who you guys got? You guys got the Rams or the Bucs here? Tell me who you got. Whether you're fans of either team or not, who you got? You want to see the Bucs? What up, Tim? What up, brother, Eagle Boy? You want the Bucs or the Rams? Who do you guys want? Bucs, Rams. So here's the thing. And this does point to, for anyone, I mean, you're not an idiot. Like, if you know, looking at point totals and spreads, this is like a coin flip of a game. It is in LA. I absolutely love going to game stacking here, and I love doing like a Stafford with either let's talk about Cooper Kupp, probably the best receiver in the NFL through 2 weeks this year so far, right? Dude just doesn't drop the ball, super consistent. But talk about a Stafford, either Kupp or Woods, or Kupp and Woods, throwing Tyler Higbee in there, and then you can run it back with. I really would have loved to see Antonio Brown this week, but we're not going to get that, right? COVID, I don't think did he get 2 negative tests to play? I don't think that happened as of yet. Man, running it back with, you got either Evans or Godwin or Gronk. You could even go like a Stafford So you could do something like this. This is a game where I would do something like this. And is Gronk going to keep it up? It's hard to say, but Brady loves throwing to Gronk, man. If Gronk's healthy like he has been so far, he's going to continue to see those touches. He's going to continue to see end zone targets. I could see a Stafford, Woods, Cup running it back with this is one game I'd run two back on the opposing, stack it with 3 on one side and run it back with 2 on the other, and then go with Gronk and either Evans or Godwin, or well, you can't do it. You could with flex, I guess. You could go Evans or Godwin, but that's going to be so much salary. It's going to be insane. You probably just have to pick either Woods or Cup. And then you could throw in Higbee. You could double tight end with the flex. You could go Higbee, Gronk, and then run it back with Higbee. I think is a guy that's going to be a little under the radar this week as well. I think because everybody's going to want to push to either Woods or Cup or the other side of the ball, and they're going to look at like Gronk, but I don't think enough people are going to look at Higbee. I think Higbee is going to have a good. I think he has a great week this week. I think he's a big part of the whole them hitting the point total or hitting the over on the points. So what do you guys got for me? We got Green Bay at the Niners for Sunday night. That's not in the main slate. What do you guys got for me? You got any questions for me? You got the old Stafford showing up for 2 interceptions. All right. I'm excited to see it. See what happens. Anybody else got anything for me? Tom T's got pulled pork, baby back ribs, burgers. Let's go. You going next week for the first home start? Nice. You like Montgomery? David Montgomery? He's interesting. Yeah. He'd be an interesting play this week. I guess. I mean, we could. You guys want to build a lineup? Or we can just end it. Doesn't matter either way. It's up to you guys. You guys still here? Talk about greatness of the GOAT. I mean, he's crazy. Odell coming back, making his comeback. Here's my only issue, Dan, with that, personally, on a DFS level. Like, if we're talking just like season long, I don't mind it. Here's what I don't. I mean, I think the issue in game script with him, and again, I could be wrong. I don't have the right answers, right? We're just talking through this, different game theories, different ways things can go. I mean, could he possibly get in the end zone? Yes, absolutely. Could he get over 100 yards today? I think that checks off yes. Is he going to need to be heavily involved in the game, like through 3.5, 4 quarters? It's hard to say, right? It really depends on where that game is at, you know. I mean, if Fields comes out, if Justin Fields comes out and does big things, which again, I think Justin Fields is going to be a great quarterback in the NFL. I think he's going to be absolutely a monster. I hope he surprises a lot of people this week. But I think if we really look at reality and we look at how it typically goes for most, and some could say Justin Fields isn't most, that typically, you know, they have those struggles. Most quarterbacks do in their first week, right? Overthrowing the ball, getting antsy, you know, fumbles, etc. And I would hope that Odell would have to be involved in the game through 3.5, 4 quarters, the full game. But I just don't know if I see it. And again, on a DFS level, he would have to, I think he has to do big things, and he has to do them early in the game. I think he has to have one of those days where he is sitting with 100 yards roughly in either a touchdown or 2 touchdowns by, say, halftime or beginning like 4 or 5 minutes into the third quarter. I just think the game, I think this week being a debut, I think it gets out of hand. Now I hope I'm wrong, because again, I do have Justin Fields in some DFS lineups taking shots, but I just don't know if that's going to be reality, and I hope it is, but I don't know, man. I have a hard time seeing it. I think if it was at home, it would help, but he's not at home. He's on the road too. Belichick will miss the playoffs again. Surprise Saints are a dog. He is cheap. Yeah. He's definitely cheap. So again, you look at a player like that, like he's worth taking shots at, right? Because of price point. So you look at the price, you look at your overall price point, and that's the biggest factor. Factor in playing a lot of guys really at the end of the day comes down to price, right? It's just like when we talk about good chalk, bad chalk, like Alexander Madison, whether you're a Vikings fan or not, in a supposed to be a big shootout, high point total game, who should see the majority of the touches. Now we got to remember, we got to be careful here as well. And this is where like a Madison can backfire. The rookie we drafted, who Dalvin and everybody's been raving about, and that's why, again, I think that Madison possibly goes to another team that needs a running back at some point. There's a possibility that, when he comes in for Alexander's, needs a break, needs to take a break, whatever, there's a chance that, like, the kid just comes out and, we see it, right? Eli Mitchell. Now, Eli Mitchell got a bigger, better opportunity week 1 because Mostert got hurt, right? But even if Mostert wouldn't have gotten hurt, Mostert wasn't going to get every single touch. Like Mostert, after he broke a big run, more than likely he'd be going out and needing a break. And then here comes Eli Mitchell. So like, and again, it's those players like giving themselves an opportunity. Like, this is my time. Do they step up to the moment? Do they do what they're supposed to? This is where I'm saying, like with Madison, that the price is just so cheap. Like, I don't know how you can't or don't play him. He's almost like a free square. But I've also been there so many times where that free square just turns around and bites you in the ass. Either injury brings in the rookie running back, or he takes a breather, and when he takes that breather, the dude pops one and gets a big touchdown, and maybe that's the only rushing touchdown of the day. I mean, that's what makes this game, that's what makes fantasy DFS so fun, right? It's just the unknowns. Anybody can come out at any time and just, once they get that opportunity, do something, and nobody's talking about them, right? I mean, I'm going to tell you, like, there was people week 1 talking about Eli Mitchell. In fact, the guy that I talking about, Big T from Run Pure Sports, he was talking about how much of a beast Eli Mitchell was. This was week 1 when, there was some question marks. He was talking about, and they were talking about running back by committee. He was talking about how much of a beast he was. And yet, when Sermon was ruled out week 1, everybody, including me, was like, oh, this is already a great spot for Mostert. Now he's just going to beast. And probably would have, right? It's not that we did the wrong move, but it's that we didn't also think about, when we did that move, the next guy up, the guy behind, in case something happens, or in case not performing, in case the coach decides, hey, I'm going to try something different because this just isn't working out. I'm not saying this is going to happen with Odell Beckham. I kind of went on a side tier because I wanted to bring back up, I was kind of going out that cheaper price, like great player at a cheap price. There's nobody that's just going to come out and take Beckham's spot. I mean, unless for some reason, which we don't want to see, Beckham gets hurt, right? Like, goes and runs a route and his hamstring, but that can happen with anybody. So Browns, Big Chubb out early and hunting. Yeah, and that's possible too, Dan. That's absolutely possible. And that'll probably happen because I'll have Chubb in a lineup or two. I'm sure it will. It usually does. Like that's why it's so hard. It's so hard. It's so difficult to win big money and win in this game. And the other issue is because most tournaments are so top heavy, right? Like if you look at if you look at like a milli maker, like a million to first, like 10th place is only like $10,000. You're going, yeah, you're going 9 spots in a milli maker, and you're going from $1 million to 10th place to $10,000. It's 33% of it goes to first place. 33% in the milli maker. It's so top heavy. That's why as a player, you should it's fine to like enter milli makers and all that and just take a shot because you never know. If you don't try it, you can't win, right? But smart bankroll, smart playing, to be consistent, to do it a long time, to do it long term. I mean, I've been playing for almost 8 years now, every day. To do it that way, you have to be smart about what you do, and it's a lot of it has to do with contests, like contest selection. I talk about it all the time, but single entries, and what I do, like, honestly, like, so tomorrow, like late tonight or tomorrow, whenever the new slate opens up for the following week, for the next week, which is great now because FanDuel finally has the reserve contest where you don't have to set a dummy lineup or set a lineup. But I go and I like all the big single entries. So they usually have like a 25K $1 single entry, or a 40K $2 single entry. I go and I reserve all those contests just to make sure, because I will tell you, by probably Thursday or Friday, it's just a routine for me now. I've been doing it so long. But by Thursday or Friday, those higher dollar ones, those 25K or 40K $1 single entry or $2 single entries, those are going to be done. Those are going to be full. Those are going to be gone. So, and they'll have other contests, and they'll have other single entry contests, but they're going to be like 1K, dollar single entries, or 2K. They're not going to be 10K. They're not going to be 25K. They're not going to be 40K, right? So locking in all those, and so single entry and 3 max entries are the best way to play. What also is a good thing to do is to play a little bit of cash. But you can also get burned playing cash if you don't really know what you're doing. Like cash is, again, it's a floor game, like high floor game. So you're playing everybody. When you play these contests and you look at other guys' lineups and you look at your ownerships, when you look at your cash lineup when the games start and everybody's playing, you should see your ownerships. Your ownership should be in the 40s, 50s, 70s, 80s, 90% in that contest. That'll kind of tell you if you built your lineup correctly. Now, again, there might be a guy or two that you feel is got a really high floor and should have a high floor that really nobody's playing because of somebody else, and you're trying to leverage the contest to give yourself a chance to for sure cash. But then again, you're also taking a little bit more of a risk, more like a GPP approach. But double ups are great. Head-to-heads are actually very fun. You can do dollar head-to-heads, you can do $2 head-to-heads, you can do $5 head-to-heads, $10 head-to-heads. Dude, you know what I love? I love playing some of the big names out there. I like to do like $5, $10, $25 head-to-heads. Like there's a dude, Chipotle Addict. You also may know he's got like a brother or somebody too. They play tons. They play like probably 30,000 a weekend or something, or 50,000 every week in NFL. They play tons of cash games. When they have the 5, 10, 25, whatever, they probably have, like, if you go to FanDuel, they probably have like 25 times, like early in the week of each contest. That means there's 25. You can enter 25 times with 25 different people, or could play them. But head-to-heads are a good way too, right? Because it's just you and one other guy, and anything can happen. But again, your head-to-head approach has to be cash worthy. I mean, you're taking a super high risk if you're playing more of a GPP style lineup in a head-to-head, right? Because again, a GPP should be, if you're building a GPP lineup, you're building a lineup that has super high ceiling. So if these guys, it's what their potential is if they have like a high game, like their best games, right? And you're trying to get the best games out of all these guys. So ceiling. Floor game cash is they have a high floor, meaning like this week, like Alexander Madison. He's a great cash play if Dalvin Cook is out, right? Because unless something fluky happens, he's going to be in the game probably 80%, 85, 90% of the snaps. So he's going to get, anytime they do a run call, he's probably going to get it unless they do some kind of wraparound from a receiver, which is going to be very, very seldom or very rarely. Cooper Kupp, he gets 10 plus targets every week. He has the ability, he has the chance to catch 10 plus passes each and every week. That's a super high floor. Now, if Cooper Kupp was a guy that consistently dropped, he kept getting 10 targets, but he dropped over 50% of them, that would be a great tournament player. Because again, he's getting a ton of chances every week, and he may catch them and he may not. That's the difference. That's like, take a Cooper Kupp that catches the ball and take a Cooper Kupp that doesn't catch the ball. He's getting the same amount of targets. The guy that catches all those balls, like Cooper Kupp, who actually catches most passes thrown to him, he's a great cash player because he's getting the targets and he has a super high floor, meaning he has a safe floor. His number, even if he has a bad week, unless he got injured early, unless he has a bad week, is going to be good. It's probably going to be 10 plus points, right? Like a bad week for Cooper Kupp is probably like 10 points. An average week for Cooper Kupp is probably like 15, right? A good week is 20 plus, which he's capable of doing just about every week right now, and has been doing that. I mean, if you go back and look at, and that's another thing you can look at when you're trying to figure this out is, now again, you got to keep an account like players and injuries a week in, week out, right? You can't just look at a 1 week sample size. You can't just look at a 2 week sample size. You got to look at like a year, a season, as best you can. If it's a rookie player, you can only go off of however many weeks they played, right? But you can also go back and you can also tap in, not that it's the same, but you can tap into some of their college stuff as well, and kind of see. A perfect example I brought up the other week was like a Mac Jones as a quarterback, right? Yes, the game is different. The game is faster. The game is much more intense in the NFL versus college. But you can look at the statistics and see, like Mac Jones in college, he didn't have a lot of rushing yards, right? He threw a shit ton. He had a ton of touchdowns. That tells you that he's not going to probably change his game now that he got the NFL. He's not a running quarterback. He's an in-pocket passer, right? He likes to throw the ball. He likes to stand in the pocket. So you can still gauge and you can still gain things from college statistics. You just don't want to use them as like a base for like, oh, well, this guy's just going to be a beast now because of whatever. I mean, a lot of it's team, a lot of it's who they have around them. I mean, in some of these colleges, who would these guys play? Who would some of these position guys play? These running backs, these receivers, were they playing University of Captain Sabaho, nobody's heard of, and the guy went off and had 500 yards and 8 touchdowns. The last placed, no one heard of college that these guys are playing at. I mean, if they're playing against high level, whatever, that's a better factor, but it's still not the NFL. So again, be smart about how you play and who you play. And another thing that another thing that a lot of people do that is wrong, if you have a bad week, let's say in the NFL, you have a bad week, you play like double what you played the last week. Don't. Be consistent with what you play. Be consistent with how much you play. Don't be like, oh shit, well I lost this, so I'm going to play twice as much this week. Because what's going to end up happening, especially if you're playing tournaments, you're going to just lose that much more money, and you're just going to be depositing money back into the app if you want to continue to play that much more. Just be smart about it. Be smart about it. Can you guys believe the NBA is like literally like 6 weeks away? The NBA season already? Like, that's crazy, right? Taking Chargers over KC, good bet. Clint, that's actually a great bet, man. That's okay. So a bet like that right there, it's a 1-point spread, right? KC's favored by 1 point. That's the type of bet right there that if you win, you're gonna win some money. That's a great bet. Like, you're gonna actually win some money. Like, not little nickel and diamond stuff. Even if you know what I mean. Like, anytime you take the dog and it's a close spread and they pull it out, that's how you win that money. That's how you win that bread, man. And that's the same approach something like that is almost the same approach you got to take in DFS in tournaments, right? So let's take the KC. I'm going to get off here soon. I'll keep on for the few people that are left here, because I know whoever's left is really just trying to tap into whatever I'm talking about, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody who's been here the whole time. Appreciate you guys when you show up, man. Show your support, and just hopefully what I say helps in some way or helps you guys. Hopefully what I'm saying isn't just rebutting and you're like, whatever. I hope it helps in some way, somehow. So that's why I do it, man. And I just love talking sports. I would love to like start a podcast or take the channel to more like bringing people on and talking DFS and talking strategy plays and throughout week or whatever, and doing different things. I think that'd be awesome. But what I'm going to say is, so let's take Kansas City. Let's kind of like what I said earlier, right? Let's take Kansas City in the Chargers game. High point total, right? And a lot of people are going to be attacking that game. And it's hard to say because I told you guys that Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill are probably going to be around 10% or a little under owned, right? In fantasy. Justin Herbert. So you can go like Kelce and Hill, or just Hill and Kelce, and then go Justin Herbert. Now, Keenan Allen is another guy that's a very cash-heavy receiver, right? Because he gets 10-plus targets a week, and he catches most of the passes that are thrown his way, unless it's uncatchable. But Mike Williams, Jared Cook, like, these are the guys you have to look at in tournaments, because if guys are playing Justin Herbert and they're stacking and they want to stack, they're typically going to play a Keenan Allen with Justin Herbert. You have to think outside the box. You have to go, maybe I'll go Justin Herbert and Jared Cook then, right? Because not too many people are going to be talking about Jared Cook, and then I'll run it back with Hill or Kelce, which again are going to be 10% or less owned. These are the types of things you need to look at. These are the types of things you need to be thinking about when you're building a tournament lineup, a GPP lineup. Again, GPP is super high upside, probably looking at high point totals, or if there is a game that your gut's telling you think is going to be a much higher scoring game and maybe much closer, I would take a shot at stacking that. Maybe even just one lineup to see what happens. That's what I would do. That's how I would go about it. That's exactly how I would play that. Like maybe something like with like balls and the Bears and the Browns, and maybe like Dan, who's was talking about Odell Beckham. Maybe a Justin Fields with the Allen Robinson, and running it back with like Odell Beckham Jr., right? Or Hubben Jr. I mean, usually you don't want to correlate your running back. Correlation's huge too. You usually don't want to run your running back with your receiver. It's just because you're basically taking points away from each other, right? There's no good correlation there. I like to see Fields beat Baker, to be honest. Yeah, man. I mean, we're all hoping he does something here, and we'll see what happens. All right, Tom. Appreciate you, buddy. Have a good day, man. So, all right. I think I'm about ready to wrap it up here, but hope you guys all enjoyed it. All right, you guys got any other questions? You guys can DM me or hit me up. Again, we'll be back. I don't know. I'm gonna think about doing like a recap stream like on Monday nights or Wednesday nights or something, kind of going through and showing where I was, where the ownership's laid, and kind of just walk through stuff on the actual computer where I can put stuff on screen. So we'll see what happens, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys took away something from it. Make the most of you guys' day, and good luck to all you guys, man. I hope we all win. Peace.